I'm kind of hot because we do this every freaking time something happened on this field. Everybody want to pivot and act like I done heard people talking about, just the mental health of the players. And yeah, you could die. They don't even know they could die out here. We sit here and talk about this stuff every single time. Schedule remakes, how we going to make it up, what the league feels about it. I don't give a damn what the league feels about it. Let's keep it real. Why we don't talk about the stuff that matter? This young man, you want to know how what this you need to know about him? He's 24 years old, right? He got a contract for $160,000. That's his bonus. And he earns $825,000 this year. You say, G. Bush, why are you talking about this man's money? Because guess what? He's been in the league 2 years. That means he's not vested. That means if he never plays another down in his life, he don't get another check for the NFL. Let's be clear about this. You got to play 3 to 4 years before you even sniff a pension. So all this heartwarming and prayers and condolences don't do nothing for that boy's mom that got to go home, look at her son, and he might need extensive care for the rest of his life.
Yes.
And you know what the NFL will tell you?
Let's talk to the man himself. I want to hear from him. He is, of course, one of Cleveland's most interesting people of 2022. He's also the host of The Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan. And, I forgot where that clip, but there's a bunch of other people on that clip. Cleveland Sports Show, the ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let me welcome the one and only Garrett Bush. Hey.
Thank you so much, Karen, for having me. I'm excited about joining you today. And yeah, I've heard that clip about, 16,000 times, but I still can feel it like in my heart when I say it. It still kind of moves me a little bit too. People ask me, why was you that emotional? I was like, man, I had to do some reflecting on that. And I think I know why.
So tell us why.
Well, I think so many times as, African-Americans, there's this thing where, you feel like you've made it, right? And you feel like you've arrived and you were there. And right before that clip play, we had Aditi Kigubala, who works for the NFL Network. She's done a lot of things on the sideline. She works right now, I believe, for CBS. And she talked about how the fact that she knew DeMar's story because he grew up in Pittsburgh and she covered the Steelers. So he was a really good football player coming out of the Pittsburgh area. And she told us a story about how his mother, cleaned in offices and houses and babysat and worked 2 jobs so that he had an opportunity to be able to go to a private school so he wouldn't end up like most of his friends who he said half of his friends either died or ended up in jail because of the area he came from. And so I was sitting there thinking to myself as I was reflecting on my co-host talking about how they're going to reschedule the game. And I just said, isn't it a shame? Like his mother worked that hard for him to get to a place where he thought he actually made it just for something to happen for him to go right back to where he came from. And now she's going to have to figure out again, how am I going to help my child if he can't help himself? And I just thought that was it was heartbreaking because so many times African-Americans, you think you made it, but you're reminded quickly that sometimes it's not, you're not home yet.
We are the world's Charlie Brown, and the world is Lucy with the football. I just said, they constantly pulling the football away at the last minute. And put it in perspective, Garrett Bush is here, y'all. 866-801-8255. Damar Hamlin's 4-year contract he signed for $3.64 million contained a standard split to pay him at a lower rate if he landed on the injured reserve. Well, this week, he was placed on the injured reserve list. However, sources say that Buffalo has worked out an agreement with the NFL and the NFL Players Association to pay him in full. But I don't think this would happen if not for the world watching what happened to Damar Hamlin and all of the back and forth and all of the controversy. So the NFL, multi-billion-dollar owners of the Buffalo Bills, they could come up with this money and they can come up with it for everybody. How about that? They don't need to make the profits that they make. And they'll still be billionaires.
They still will be there. I argued with my, some of the people that either call in or my castmates. And I said, look, they said, well, this is part of the Players Association. They have a union. They should be fighting for the players. That's where you have the problem with. And I had to correct them. I said, no, that's not who I have the problem with. I have a problem with the employer. Every employer has the obligation to give their workers a safe environment, an environment where they can get health care, an environment in which they are fully vested in understanding, okay, these are the risks, but at the same time, here's what we're going to do to take care of those things. There's a lot of players that would automatically play football again. I was a product of football. I went to Ohio University. I got a full scholarship. Football taught me a bunch of things. How to be a man, life isn't going to always be fun. Sometimes you got to get up early and come home late to get ahead in life. And those things are awesome. But there's also the life lessons of football, but then there's always the business of football. And the business of football is corrupt. It's hard to say that. When you talk about the level of money and the revenue that they're making, billions. I mean, these are billions of dollars in revenue. They can afford to put money escrow. They can afford to make sure that if you are a professional football player, that you'll have your end of life care taken care of, or you'll at least have the ability. If I do have a life altering change in my health or mental health or whatever the case may be, that at least I can live with some sort of dignity. And right now, the NFL took advantage of PR because they're great at doing that. They're the best marketing company in the world. And so they took care of DeMar, but that's a one-off. What about all the other players that come after him is the question that we were raising, and continue to talk about that today.
Let's do that. What y'all need to know about Garrett Bush, in addition to being an amazing human being, and I full disclose, Garrett, I do not watch football. I do not support NFL football, primarily because of what happened with Colin Kaepernick, but also I've talked with Dr. Benjamin, Amalo. Dr. Amalo has been on the show several times, and I can't for the life of me support something that leaves so much wreckage and damage in its wake at the expense of what is primarily Black men. I can't do it. So I'm not going to support a league that doesn't support the brothers that are out there, my nephews or whatever, on that field, and don't have enough wherewithal or concern for their human lives to do better, and they're not doing better. And the Rooney Rule is trash. And high thigh bone notwithstanding, Jimmy the Greek, this is not a plantation. I don't care if they are signing for millions of dollars. And it is a plantation, and I'm not supporting it. So I don't support football, but I'm happy to have you, and I want to have you back frequently on a Thrive Thursday, because you started your career as a financial planner after you got out of college. Tell people about that journey to becoming a financial planner, which is why you're not talking out the left side of your butt cheek. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I started off, because, like me, I've had 17 injuries. I've had 17 surgeries. To this day, I still have 3 herniated discs in my neck that are not operable. So
17, Garrett,
17 back, neck, 2 ACLs, left knee, right knee, calf, toe. So I know what the game can do to you. And I never got an NFL check a day of my life, right? So I understand what the game can do to you physically. So when I got out of college, the one thing my mom always told me was, hey, you did go to college. She always let me know, but when you get there, you got to maximize what you're able to do. And so when I graduated to college of business, I left and I started working in Charlotte, North Carolina as a financial advisor. And I really found out quickly. They put me in a position when I was there that I was supposed to go and talk to minority business owners in order to, talk to them, because I looked the part, I talked the part. And so I would go to these minority business owners, and they would open their books up. They say, listen, I don't have life insurance. My retirement fund isn't where I want. I got 2 kids that's 10 years old, 11 years old. We have nothing put away in college. So what do you think I should do? And I would go to these individuals and we would put these plans together. I come back to the people that I worked with, the senior partners and advisors. They say, well, Garrett, you might want to pre-qualify these a little bit, because the money that you're going to really make in this, is it really going to be enough to kind of sustain yourself. So sometimes if they only have this much to invest, you might want to, you got to go after the higher dollars. And that really took me back a little bit, because I said, I'm trying to teach them financial literacy. I'm trying to sometimes when we're dealing with people with first generation money. Like we talking about their parents may not went to college. We talk about my grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather moved from the South when he was 18 and my grandmother was 16. They moved to Cleveland, Ohio from Georgia. And my grandfather has a second grade education. My grandmother has a fifth. So I understand what it is not to know about money and how it goes about and how it kind of skips over the minorities in our country, and especially specifically the Black community. So when the stock market crashed in 2008, I said, "Oh, we can't do this." When you're working on 75% commission and you're starting off new. Plus, I didn't like the way it sat with me. I felt like I was an agent. I felt like I was the dude that was supposed to go set up the appointments and bring all my people over here. And if it don't work out for me, I'm so glad it didn't, because how many investments would have been with people that they didn't know, didn't trust, and didn't even talk to them in the beginning. So we get to there, fast forward. I was like, do I want to go into coaching? No, I couldn't go into coaching because I just didn't believe in, I can't play a role in seeing somebody being diminished. And I know that I could do something to help them, but I can't, because I'm in a fraternity that says coaches stick together, coaches worry about each other. And that's how we continue to get jobs every year. I couldn't do that. So I got into broadcasting, and obviously, they didn't give me a job. I was 32. I took my last checks and I went to broadcasting school, because I knew if I didn't get an internship that they would never give me a job working on the radio. So I was 31, 32, went back to school. I interned for free for a year. I had to drive back and forth. I was on my mom's couch. And to this day, I started off independent. I started off as a guy that was on YouTube and kept moving. And then, people got behind me because I'm a big individual that believes in independent news sources, independent outlets, because there's a lot of people that won't say that about the NFL. It's not that they don't know it. It's because the NFL is partners with every major.
That's right.
Why would they, there was
which is why billionaires buy newspapers and magazines. And, there's no, Bezos owns the Washington Post. There's no, Mark Zuckerman owns the Daily News. I know, because I work there. Like, these people are buying, and if they're not buying them, they have heavy influence. I remember Bloomberg. Mm-hmm. Bloomberg has a whole entire network around business. You think he's looking at his own businesses? You think he's writing about his own businesses in the Bloomberg reports? No.
You'll never know that.
Yes.
You'll never, and Karen, you'll never know till you get in it. Like, you get in, like, so I'm talking about financial, right? So we talk about football, we're talking about college football, NFL, financial advising, all these things. And I remember the first thing they always tell you is, when you get on the radio, never talk about 2 or 3 things. You don't talk about how much money people make. You don't talk about religion, and you definitely don't talk about politics. Now, for me, I said, what are you talking about? I said, how can you have politics in sports? They are one and the same. They are the exact same. How can you not tell about politics? And you were right. You were dead on.